Are you thinking of taking on the Toastmaster role at your local Toastmasters Club? Perhaps you've signed up and now you're thinking, oh shoot, my meeting's coming up and I don't really know how to do this role. Don't worry, you've come to the right spot. In this video, I'm going to give you a live example of me taking on the beginning of an actual Toastmaster role at my local Toastmasters Club. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My goal is to help make you a more impactful communicator. My videos range from helpful Toastmasters tips and pieces of advice to general public speaking suggestions, and communication tips overall. If this type of video content is going to be beneficial for you or you're interested in improving your communication skills, please consider subscribing to my channel. Every subscription helps me so much in delivering this type of content to you. I recently had the chance to take on the Toastmaster role at my local Toastmasters Club. So I brought my camera along so that I could shoot the introduction and basically the housekeeping of setting up the meeting to give you an idea of how to initiate, how to launch into that Toastmaster role. One thing I will note is that I have another video, which is going to pop up in the top left, which is all about how to take on the Toastmaster role with details, but it doesn't include the live example. It's a video I've previously done. So this video with the live example combined with that other video, which dives deep into the Toastmaster role and what you should be thinking about, the combination of these two videos, if you watch both of them, you are going to be set, prepared, and ready to take on the Toastmaster role. All right, let's jump into that live example, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what I did well, what I could improve upon, and what you need to know before taking on the Toastmaster role. I have two theories. The first theory is that humor is one of the top 5 most important elements when it comes to public speaking. In no particular order, I would include the other 4 to be speech structure, elimination of filler words such as and ah, body language, vocal variety, and then humor, I believe, to be in the top 5. My second theory is that self-deprecating humor is the most powerful form of humor that we can use. And today we're going to explore what taking jibes at ourselves really looks like. Before we jump into the meeting roles, I'd like to quickly go over the agenda, and a huge thank you to everyone who has stepped up and taken on all of these roles. We now have it completely full. Thank you, Sue, for stepping up last minute, taking on the toast. Sue is also our timer today. Moya is doing triple roles, which is amazing, the humorist, the grammarian, and she is evaluating table topics. We have Brandon, who is a speaker today, Kim doing an 8 to 10 minute speech, and also signed up for general evaluator. Thanks so much for doing that, Kim. Margaret is speech evaluator for Brandon, Wendy is speech evaluator for Kim, and Andy is awe counter. It's going to be a great meeting. So with that, I'd like to invite Sue back up to give the introduction for the timer. Well said, Sue. Thank you very much. So before we jump into the specific niche of self-deprecating humor, let's talk about why humor matters. Why does humor matter when public speaking? It does 2 very powerful things. The first is it relaxes your audience. Audiences are very quick to judge speakers, especially if they've never seen you speak before. They're going to quickly make an assumption if you know what you're doing, if they're going to get value out of it, if they're going to be entertained. And if you can make the audience laugh, especially quickly, they're going to relax. They're going to know that you have things under control, you know what you're doing. But the second thing it does is it relaxes you as the speaker. That universal sign of laughter indicates that the audience is enjoying themselves, and there is no bigger boost of confidence you can have when you're on stage. Doing 2 roles back to back we have Moya, and no pressure on humorist or inspirational thought, but the theme is self-deprecating humor. We'll see what Moya comes up with. Help me introduce Moya. Well, there you have it. That was the live example of my introduction as Toastmaster. And as you could see, the theme of the meeting was self-deprecating humor. And to start off the meeting, I launched into that topic with two theories. My first theory was that humor is one of the 5 most essential categories for becoming a better public speaker. By the way, shameless plug, I have a course that is all about the 5 essentials of public speaking with the link down in the video description. So if you want to elevate your public speaking game, definitely check out that course. There's going to be a video at the end of this video that talks about that course. All right, back to the Toastmaster role. So in my introduction, I mentioned the fact that humor is incredibly important. And then the second theory I give is that self-deprecating humor is the most powerful form of humor. And that was a good way to introduce the subject to the fellow club members and set the tone for the meeting. I then launched into some housekeeping for the meeting, going over the agenda so that everyone was clear of what they could be expecting over the next hour and a half. This is important, that housekeeping bit at the beginning of a Toastmasters meeting, setting the tone, updating if there's been any roles that have changed, basically communicating with the group and informing them of what they can expect is an essential piece and something you should really consider with the Toastmaster role. From there, I launched into the first introduction, which was the timer explanation of the role. I understand every Toastmaster club has a different agenda or structure. Some are the same. Ours is a bit unique, but that is a role that we introduced. We always have the timer report at the end of a meeting, but we've recently added this timer introduction so that new members and guests can understand what are those green and yellow and red lights at the back of the room. That is what the timer introduction is for. And so I introduced that timer role as the first role of the meeting. For those of you who have seen a few of my YouTube videos before, you know that in these live example videos, after you see the live example, I like to jump into what I did well and what I could improve upon, but I'm gonna shake it up a little bit on this live example. I know I mentioned earlier in the video that I talk about what I need to improve upon, but overall I was pretty happy with this Toastmaster role and how I introduced everything. So instead, I'm going to give you some specific tips of what you should be thinking about when you take on that Toastmaster role. The first piece of advice I have is to be prepared. With some clubs, the Toastmaster role has additional responsibilities throughout the week, such as sending out the club agenda so everyone is aware, getting people to sign up for the roles, and then in our club, the Toastmaster is expected to print off the agenda and have physical copies there for those who are attending in person. Whatever your club role of Toastmaster includes, and if you're not sure, be sure to ask the VP of Education or perhaps the Toastmaster Club president who looks after your club. Ask them what is expected of the Toastmaster. And if you sign up for that role, know that there are going to be responsibilities and extra work you need to put in over the week to ensure that you are as prepared as possible. As Toastmaster at a Toastmasters meeting, sometimes you are expected to fill the gaps. If there are roles that simply haven't been signed up for, not enough club members perhaps attending that meeting, or there's different gaps in the agenda, be prepared to fill those things. As an example, if there is no one who is signed up for the grammarian role, it's a good idea to pick a word of the day and have that printed off just in case nobody signs up for it by the time of the meeting. In the best case scenario, someone on the morning of your Toastmaster meeting or the evening of your Toastmaster meeting may be willing to do it, but you've got that extra piece of content. You've got the word picked out so you can easily hand off the grammarian role to somebody in the moment because you've already done some of that preparation work. But as Toastmaster, you should be prepared to fill in those potential gaps. The role of Toastmaster at a Toastmasters Club meeting almost definitely requires notes of some sort. You need notes as in what the agenda is going to be for the meeting. If there are speakers, there's likely a speaker introduction or information about the speech they're about to give. And if you want to implement your theme, there's likely things you want to sprinkle throughout the meeting that are pieces of information about whatever the theme is. With that in mind, you're going to likely have a lectern to place your notes on. So at the meeting, my suggestion is not for you as Toastmaster to hide behind the lectern, but to have it set up strategically, almost diagonally to yourself or off to the side. That way, when you're talking to the group, you can still use that body language. And then when you need to reference your notes, you simply pivot. You can pick up where you left off and then turn back to the audience and be able to deliver the rest of your role. One of the clearest signs of an effective Toastmaster is his or her ability to transition smoothly in between roles. These transitions are made possible thanks to effective listening on your part. For example, if the humorist comes up and delivers a funny, short speech, 1 to 2 minute speech, and then you shake his or her hand as they leave the stage, it's a good idea to make some form of comment about what it is that person just spoke about, which then transitions to the next portion of the meeting. And this is an expert skill. It's not easy to do this, but one backup plan can be to have information, little tidbits of information about what the theme of the meeting is. That way you always have content that stays relevant that you can sprinkle in between all of the roles before introducing the next speaker who will be coming up. Perhaps the most important aspect of a Toastmaster is to keep the meeting on time. As Toastmaster, you should constantly be aware of where you're at in the meeting agenda versus the actual time, and you should never have too big of a gap between those two. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes maximum. But if you're finding that the meeting's going too fast, perhaps you can have some backup information, fun facts about whatever the theme is one example, or asking follow-up questions to certain members of the audience to bring the schedule more in line of where it should be. Or if you're way behind in time, you may ask certain evaluations towards the end of the meeting to be concise, or table topics is a good opportunity for you to get the meeting back on time. So if you're running way behind, you can ask the table topics master to only ask 1 or 2 questions, or if you're way ahead and you need to fill time, encourage the table topics master to ask a lot more questions to fill that gap within the meeting. In my opinion, the Toastmaster role is the most difficult role to take on at a Toastmasters meeting. So if you're planning on taking on this role, congratulations to you. That is a huge accomplishment in itself. I hope this video, again paired with my other video that talks specifically about how to take on that Toastmaster role, I hope that that content helps you and be able to take on this role confidently. If you do, please leave me a comment below. Let me know how it went. I'd love to hear from you. And if my channel has provided you any value at all, please consider subscribing. It truly is the best way to help me out. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. I will catch you on the next one. People are more scared of public speaking than they are of dying. Is it just me, or is that wrong? Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and I am passionate about impactful communication. My YouTube channel has helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their public speaking skills, and I am thrilled to release my first ever course, which has taken my decade of learning about how to become a better public speaker and boiled it down to this theme of mastering the 5 essentials of public speaking. I know for a fact that if you can dial in these 5 elements and perfect them, you are going to be a phenomenal public speaker, head and shoulders above the rest, just by being aware of these things. By taking the time to digest the information in this course, practice it, and then put it to action through your speeches, you are going to become a better public speaker. As a bonus in this course, I sit down with the world's greatest freestyle rapper, Harry Mack, and one of the greatest keynote speakers in the world, Sean Kanungo, and I get their tips firsthand of what makes them incredible at what they do. If you agree that public speaking definitely should not be scarier than dying, sign up for my course. You won't regret it.